And when he said that, I was like, oh, I don't want to be in a room with 1,500 of you. I barely want to be in a room with my husband and the dog some of the time. Hello, and welcome to Losing My Knit. My name's Jeff. That's Jeff with a G. I live in Boston with my husband Tim and our Bernedoodle Barnaby. I'm mostly a knitter, sometimes a crocheter, and I dabble in other things. Welcome if this is your first time. Welcome back if you're coming back again. This is my spot on the internet where I talk about all things yarn related and really whatever comes up when it comes to making and crafting. This episode is a little bit different, as you'll see. I've shifted things around slightly. Don't get used to this view. There's no table in front of me, so I'm gonna drop some. I'm gonna drop this iPad. I think this is the only thing I'm gonna hold this time. But I just wanted to shift it so you get this pretty view of my blanket ladder, my pile of sweaters, and my bookshelf. I am slowly working towards cleaning this end of the room, organizing it. You may see that in a future video. There's a half empty bookshelf I want to combine and see if I can create a nice little corner that I might record from in the future, but that is neither here nor there. I wanted to take a moment and reflect on a year of YouTube. I had been thinking about starting this for quite a bit last year, and then I kind of stealth dropped an episode and was like, I'm just going to do Vlogmas, see how it goes. I had a plan. I thought about it. I knew when I wanted to do it, how I wanted to do it. I'll talk more about that later. It's a year. It's been a year. And so I just thought I would take a few minutes. I told myself I'm not allowed to talk about anything more than 5 minutes. I'm going to hold myself to that because if not, it'll be like an hour and a half long. I have a top 10. I have a top 10. I don't know if they're in order, but I have a top 10 things that I've learned about knitting, about YouTubing. And I just wanted to share that with everyone because I think it's helpful for if you're considering starting a YouTube vlog or podcast, whatever you want to call it. I watched a couple of these right before I started and right after I started. And I was like, oh, these are all super helpful. So like seeing a year in, no one's experience is the same. And I was like, well, I'll share my experience and tell you what it's been like. So I just, looking back on the year, it has been a wild year. So much has happened. I don't know why I decided to start this at the same time that we got married, we moved, I started a new job. I know why I did that. I had extra time in the mornings. I was like, why not? And I had a space that I could shut the door and, record if I wanted to. So that's why I did it. And I also knew setting up, I had a very specific time frame of when I would do things. But we'll get to that later. So you better stick around. But it has been a wild year. November, December were I first published my intro episode on November 22nd last year. I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And I just, I thought about the things that I really liked in other people's. And I picked and chose those things. I ended up going with pretty much your standard format. Finish object whips, acquisitions, and then whatever I wanted to talk about at the end. Usually it's some random project that's caught my attention or design or material or yarn or something. But, it's pretty standard. And I liked that. Those are the ones that I like to watch. But I also like watching project videos, and we'll get to that for next year. So I did that. I knew that's what I would eventually do. I also wanted to make sure I could have the time to edit. And, that was a choice that I made, add. I don't do full captions. That is a goal. I would love to do a full closed caption. That's a long-term goal. But I wanted to learn the software and all. So those first 2 months, November and December, I did my intro episode and then I did 12 little mini-sodes that I called Knitmas instead of Vlogmas because I was not going to vlog every day. I'm not interesting enough. You're just going to be like, hey, it's me working on the same project. That's it. I guess because I don't talk about too much else. I'm going to the pool. Okay, I'm back from the pool. I do like watching those on other people, but I'm like, I'm not that interesting. So I just was like, I'm going to do mine. I'm going to pick 12 topics. I'm going to talk about those 12 topics. And I dove in and it was wonderful and I enjoyed it. And That's where that OG 87 came from. If you are still here and you're one of those 87, let me know below, because you all really made me go forward. Just seeing that number crawl from like 4, 5, 10, 20, 87. It was so heartwarming to see that. And then January and episode 1 happened. That was my first episode. It was my first standard. Followed the formula that other people have done. You know, I jumped up. I went to like 100, 150, 200. But then it spiked. It went super high, super fast. I don't even know the total numbers. I want to say it's over 8,000 views. But I got a big shout out from the grocery girls, and that was like, I remember it because Amy of Happy Little Yarn sent me an Instagram message and was like, "You just got shouted out." And I was like, "Wait, what?" I was in a meeting I was in a one-on-one with one of my direct reports, and I was like, "Wait, I shouldn't have been on my phone, first off," but like I saw it come through, and I saw that part of the preview message, and I was like, "Oh my God, I need to see what this is. What are you talking about?" And I still grin about that when I think about it. And so that, some of you joined from that. I got another shout out, I think that month or maybe the next month, from Kevin and Ray at Needles at the Ready. And those did help. Those bumped me up. But that big spike, that 8,000, is where I really saw the numbers grow. But it's not about numbers, and that's one of my top 10. I'll talk about. And then I just sort of kept going, and I was looking forward to it. And I will not lie, I think with that big spike in views, that and it's nothing else I've done has come close. I did consider revisiting what my plan was for the year. Like, oh, maybe I should vlog more. Maybe I should do every 2 weeks. And I'm very glad that I decided not to do that. I stuck with the plan that I wanted to do. And I think I'm the better for it. I think mentally and capacity wise, I made my decision. I knew what I wanted to do, and I stuck with it. I think I'm just gonna tell you I'm telling you all the top 10 right now, but I'll go into more in depth. But then, yeah, so I kept going every month. The last Thursday for a little while, and then I realized the trash collectors impacted my recording, so I was shifted to Wednesday. So the last Wednesday of the month, or the last Wednesday before the first Saturday of each month, I recorded. I shared it. You all commented. Every time I see a comment, I do a little dance, I get excited, I'm happy. And it makes you all have kept me doing this. And I can't believe I'm recording a 1-year episode. Week after next, or late next week, I'll record episode 12. And so I wanted to take a moment to reflect on that. And thank you all. Thank all of you for your comments, just watching, even just all the likes. The likes and the comments are great, but just knowing that there's people watching, even, I think the average watch time is maybe a third, 20 to 25 minutes. That's still a lot of time to give to me. So I really appreciate it. I just wanted to say thank you. So yeah, I will jump in to, and then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check in. Actually, I'm not going to do that. I was going to check in on my 2025 vibes video. So that was the very last of my Vlogmas, 12 days of Knitmas last year, but I'm going to save that. I'll save that for another video. I am going to do Vlogmas this year, not every day, not 12 days. I'm going to release a video every Saturday in December. And I have 2 of the themes. One of them is going to be checking in on last year's vibes video, what I want to make in 2025, what I think the vibes are for me. So I'll check in on that one and look at 2026. Yeah. So, I did not say this. I totally missed that part. Don't forget to follow me. If you're on Instagram, it's losing.my.knit. If you are on Ravelry or Blue Sky, losing my knit with no periods. I'll put some QR codes right here. Yeah, so I have top 10. There's 10 things I've learned. So maybe they're not even top 10. Maybe I won't number them. I'll just put bullets so they're not numbered. 10 things that mattered to me that I learned over a year of blogging, vlogging, and YouTube. And these are things about knitting, and they're things about the knit community, and they're things about YouTube and the technology. So if I hope you'll watch, especially if you're thinking about starting a podcast. I think they're all helpful. Some I kind of gleaned from other people, and some I learned them. I had to learn them. The first one I'll say, the first, not number one, but the first, research matters. Like I said, figure out what it is that you like to watch, and then figure out if you want to do that. It may not be what you like to produce. Like, this is production. Even if you just sit down, record, and hit post, you're directing, you're producing, like, you are doing it. So like, make sure that what you think you want to do a dry run, test it, see what happens. See what other people are talking about, see what how other people are interacting with their audiences. I'll talk about that later. Really just get to know the YouTube community. It's a different community than the Instagram community. It's a different community than the Ravel community. Sure, they're concentric circles, but it's its own platform. It's its own base, and it's different. You find you'll find what you like to watch, you'll find what you like to listen to, and then you'll find what you like to make. And those may all three overlap. Two of the three may overlap, and for me, I'd say two of the three overlap. I've figured out I'm not really the biggest, the best project video person, but I know I want to improve that. So like, that's research. I'm still doing research right now. Yeah, I think that's the biggest one. And then there's so many different ways to organize yourself. Like everyone, the apps that people talk about when they're organizing their knitting, there's just as many ways to organize your notes. I use Google Drive, so I've got all of my podcasts, all of my notes are in separate, one document, but separate pages of the document. So I can always refer back and forth between them. Some people write it on a piece of paper or in a notebook. Some people just wing it. Kudos to you. Not my style, even though I end up ignoring this thing or my computer half the time. The second one, this is the big one for me. Community doesn't build itself. And I think we all know this, but I have seen, what I have found is what is most important when you're starting is interacting with your commenters. I still believe the reason my episode 1 took off is because I responded to every single comment from my first intro video and every one of my 12 Days of Knitmas videos. And not just a hey, thanks, or a heart. I heart and like. You're going to get 3 interactions from me every time. Unless this gets so big that I don't have the time, but I will still do it. It will just be delayed. I will heart your comment. I will like your comment, and I will respond to it substantially if there's something I can say to it. And I think that's really important. I've seen so many people start podcasts, and you got 50, 100, 200, 250, 300 followers, and you're getting 2 to 3 comments and not engaging. It's like, I'll comment once or twice, I'll watch, and if you don't respond to my comment, even just a simple thanks or oh, that's a great idea, or oh, I never thought of that, or I'll check it out if it's a pattern, or especially if you ask a question, I'll comment once or twice, but then if you don't acknowledge the comment, and I'm not saying you have to, but like, for me, that just means you're not engaging with me as an audience member. And so I absolutely try and engage every time, and it builds a community. I mean, I feel like I am part of the communities of the podcasters that I watch and that engage with me, that I have built, relationships with, both from watching them, but also interacting with them on social media and having comments. I felt like I've been able to ask questions about YouTubing or patterns they're working on. And I think that's really important. And I still think I believe that's why mine skyrocketed, because YouTube saw, maybe it was just the amount of time I was spending on here, but they saw I would post, people would comment and like, and I would respond, and we'd have conversations, 2 or 3 threads deep. And I feel like that's really important, especially when you're getting started. I know once you reach a certain threshold, you don't have the capacity to do that, and that makes me sad. Like, YouTubers don't owe you anything. They don't have to do that. But like for me, this was sort of, how do I talk to people about my knitting when I can't every day? And you all are the people I talk to. So I talk, and then you talk back to me. Not talk back, but like you respond to me in the comments. And so I want to respond back. I want to have that conversation. Thankfully, my followers are manageable or my subscribers are manageable, and I can still do that. But that's my biggest like intro tip. Don't respond to everything. Like even if it's just a thanks so much for watching or a thumbs up, like give some acknowledgement, especially when you don't have as many followers and you're building your community. Like it's really incredibly important. The third one, jump in. It is terrifying sitting down in front of the camera that first time. I probably took a video 4 or 5 times before I was like, I can't keep recording. I'm never going to post. And you just sit down and record. Your first one's not going to be great, but you grow. That's the whole point of this. Like, jump in. I personally would say do research and then jump in. But if you think you're going to use that research to delay jumping in, skip it. Record, post, start interacting, and learn as you go. I think it's kind of like I approached YouTube like I approached knitting. I am very methodical, so I researched, I figured out how I wanted to do it, how many episodes, et cetera, and then I jumped in, like full head, like something just, I reached a point where it was like, okay, if I don't do it now, I'm not going to do it, so I did it. Some of you, it may be like, you have to jump in and then figure it out, do that, but like, don't delay if you're considering it. I encourage you to try it, and don't get disheartened. It's a lot of work, both mentally to sit down and do this, but then also it can be a lot of work if you decide to go the editing route. It can be a lot of work if you get a lot of engagement really fast. So like there are things like just go in with your eyes open, and you are posting publicly. So thankfully I have not had any rude comments. I think, just be aware, see how other people are treated, and go in with your eyes open. Number 4 for me was setting a schedule and sticking to it was very important. I mentioned this early in the intro, but I don't know, I gotta take a sip. You want to see my mug? I very rarely have a mug. There's nothing exciting in there, just water. I figured it was better than my big Owala making noise. We got this in Texas visiting Tim's family at some point, and I just thought it was hilarious. It was like $3 on clearance, I think, at Target years and years ago. I like to have it in some meetings and then just take a sip. And someone almost always comments on it. But yeah, setting a schedule is really important. I knew between getting married, moving, starting a new job, I most likely was not going to be podcasting every 2 weeks. I know my knitting style, which is I'm a quick knitter, but I generally am monogamous, maybe 2 at most 3 projects. Always 1 long-term project and then maybe 1 to 2 smaller projects. It wasn't going to be that interesting. Like, do you really want me to come on every other week and say, hey, I did 15 more rows, or hey, I'm 6 more inches into the body of the same project you've now seen 7 times? And I also knew, so for me, I knew that was important. I knew I wanted to do once a month. Others had done once a month, and they seemed to have found their audience, found their niche. And so I wanted to do that. But I also know there are people that blog every single week, and more power to you. I tend to find those that blog once or twice, once a week or every other week. They generally sit down, record, minimal editing, and throw it out there. That works for them. But if I did that, you would watch me sit here, stare out that window for 5 minutes as I look for the word or look for my train of thought. And nobody needs to do that. I have to do that when I watch the editing. So I chose, because of one of my other goals, and I'll talk about that, it was a goal. One of my other goals was to learn the technology a little bit more. And so I knew I wanted to learn about editing and color adjustment and audio and those sort of things. So setting a schedule is important. I think definitely have flexibility. Give yourself grace. I have, I think, hit every single release I plan to hit. There may have been one that I pushed because of a vacation, and that just happens. Life happens. As I've said recently, I'm a maker first and a content creator second. So I will always sacrifice recording if I feel like I want to keep knitting, or if I'm trying to meet a deadline for a test knit or something. You may get like a 10-minute video, but like that is the decision I've made. But yeah, that's a big recommendation I have, is whatever you decide when you first start, have some flexibility, but like really set your course, set your cadence, and stick with it. Number 5, it's not easy, but it's a lot of fun. And I say it's not easy because all the reasons I've said before. It's nerve-wracking to sit down. It's nerve-wracking to release this out to everybody. Because I chose to do a little more heavily edited, add, text, add photos, add the names of every pattern into it. I knew it was going to be a little harder, but that was one of my goals. Was I wanted to learn more about the YouTube platform. I wanted to learn about YouTube editing or video editing. I've done audio editing. I've done, through my job, I have helped direct videos. I've written promo spots for giving days, for fundraisers. I've helped do those things. And I've been the person to say, can you cut it here? Can you bring this in? Put B-roll. Like, I've been that director, that creative person, but I've never had to do it. I had an audio podcast years ago where a friend would come read a book with me. A friend would read a book, I would read a book, and then we would talk about it. And I probably did about a year of those too, so yay. And so I knew about audio editing, but video editing is different. Like, y'all have seen, I am not great at the cut, and I don't like the ones where it kind of like fades out when you cut and then fades back in. Like, they freak me out for some reason. It's kind of like, is it a glitch in the matrix? I don't know if that's what my brain is thinking. So I am working on that. And the things that I've learned so far, it's clearly not video splicing, as you all know. I have learned more about the technical, like adding in. So the biggest problems I have. So we're merging into number 6, which is flexibility is key. The biggest problem I have had is I was using Microsoft Clipchamp, and I used that for the first 3 or 4 episodes. I didn't want to invest any money in this. I didn't want to buy any software. And so I used that. And then all of a sudden there was an update and it wouldn't work. I could not open the video. I could not open old videos. I would open it and it would crash. I would open it and it would crash. So that was on a Wednesday. Thankfully, I'd already switched to Wednesday. So I had to learn an entire new program, which was Adobe Premiere Rush. Thankfully, that is relatively similar to Adobe. Not similar, but it's within the Adobe Creative Suite. I've used InDesign. I've used Photoshop before. So I tried it. And I had to learn that. And I did it. It was a crash course, and I did 2 or 3 episodes of that with Premiere Rush. And then I got an email saying, oh, hey, we're going to discontinue Premiere Rush, which was free. And we're going to push everybody into Adobe Premiere, which you have to pay a subscription for. And I was like, again, not investing money in this yet. Not going to do that. So then I had to learn a new program. So ultimately I ended up learning DaVinci Resolve. It is like using a tank to kill a fly. I don't know why it has to be a violent metaphor, but like it is like that. The DaVinci Resolve professional video editors use. They'll use the paid version. I'm using the free version, but there are so many things in there to learn that like I kind of started back at square one. So a lot of the things that I've learned so far you don't see. So like maybe I'll do a clip. So everything you've been watching up to this point has been, I've been color corrected, or I've changed the color slightly to make things appear more true to color. But starting right now, I will do a clip of what it looked like prior to color correcting it. And whether it's color corrected correctly, that's a different issue. But like, this is what I've decided is I think this looks good. Usually it's a little more yellow. Usually it's a little more soft. But this is what it shows you. This is the actual recording. And then in a second, when I point again, we're going to go back to the color corrected version. So right now. So things like that, learning the title sequences, the text, moving things around, clipping, like all of those things. So it's all in the background, but I've been learning it. But that's where flexibility is key, really comes in, is that you never know what's going to happen. Just knowing, okay, I might have to learn a new software, or okay, it's going to be a day late. I think that's really helped across the board. So like, just in creating these and posting these and learning about these, being more flexible. Like I had to rip out a project yesterday, and I've always been pretty zen about ripping out projects, because I'm just like, you don't, my favorite backronym is FAIL, first attempt in learning. So every time you fail, as long as you learn something new, you're still growing forward, you're failing forward. And so like, I've always been okay ripping out projects. Usually, I mean, there was a lace project I attempted 4 or 5 times, and I got like a good foot into it and was like, I can't, this isn't right. I'll have to come back to it when I have more skills. And I pulled that yarn out. But yeah, so that's why I say flexibility is key. So you know how we just talked about color correction? The light just went out. So we'll see if this is a different color. Who knows? It seems pretty bright in here today. So number 7 is, I feel weird saying this one because of the crazy year that I've had, but I also think it's really important on how I went into it. So number 7, and it probably could be number 1 if I actually put these in order. Like, I'm just saying this is the 7th one. So the 7th one, monetization and metrics don't matter. Asterisks. They matter if you want to be an influencer. They matter if you want to be a content creator professionally. I don't. I just want to learn the technology and build a community. I had a crazy first year. I went from 0 to just under 1,500. I broke 1,550, but I'm back down to 1,540 something. They fluctuate. It's insane. I did monetization. A lot of people don't talk about it. But you get monetized, so you start earning ad revenue once you hit, I think it's 1,000 followers, and I want to say 2,000 watch hours. It's something like that. I actually I hit monetization in June. Full disclosure, I think I've earned $115. We'll see how much of that actually gets sent to me. I did say, okay, sure, turn it on. Like, so I did buy something. I bought that mic, and it was slightly more than $115. And I think when I bought it, I knew I needed a new mic. And I was like, well, that's technically what if I ever earn money, that's what that pays for. It's not a lot. Like, we're talking pennies on the view, or partial pennies on the view, rip penny. And like $3, $4, maybe $5 an episode. I'm sure when you get $15,000 subscribers, it grows exponentially. And then, that's where you start to see people doing, ad placements and sponsored videos. And so like, kudos to you if that's what you want. That's not what I wanted. I'm always a little bit obsessed with metrics. So my job is very data driven, especially after I post a video, but I have found a much calmer, happier place where I post a video and then I'm not allowed to check it. I don't let myself check, like, are people watching it? I don't let myself check until I allow myself to check to make sure that it did post correctly. But then I'm not allowed to look at anything until someone comments. And if someone doesn't comment for 6, 8, 12 hours, I don't look. And that's a much better, much healthier way to view it now. Because after that first one, when like it went to like 500 views and then all of a sudden it was 1,000, 2,000, 4,000, like it just went up like that. And that was like 3 weeks after I posted it, as I was moving towards episode 2. I was like obsessively checking episode 2 and 3. And then I was like, this is not good. And then I did an episode that I got quite a few views on, my controversial one that the people were like, that's not controversial. And then I know a lot of people left. That following episode I checked because I knew there was going to be a steep drop off, and then I was like, okay, that's cool. The metric that I actually like to look at, so when I'm looking at some of the big podcasters, or even just those that kind of have this roughly the same number of subscribers I do, is like, what's your subscriber to video count? What's your overall views to subscriber count, your overall views to video count? And like, those are interesting metrics to me. Like, there are people that have been doing this for 5, 6, 7 years that have 2,000, 2,500 subscribers. And like, that's an awesome number. I watch Martin at 365, and him and Irina of Fiber Chats were chatting when they got to meet each other in person in Florida. It was an adorable, lovely video. Go watch it if you follow either of them, if you haven't seen it yet. And Martin had this really healthy view. And I'm saying this as someone who got 1,500 subscribers in a year, less than a year. I've been kind of sitting there. He said, even 50 subscribers or 50 watches, if you were in a room with that many people, that would be awesome. And when he said that, I was like, oh, I don't want to be in a room with 1,500 of you. I barely want to be in a room with my husband and the dog some of the time. But like, when he said that, like, it really, that clicked and was like, that, yeah, that's, I need to embrace that mentality. Like, if 500 more people join tomorrow, awesome, welcome, great. Hope you enjoyed this video and all the other ones. If 50 of you leave tomorrow, good luck. I wish you best in your life. Like, it's just, I think that's really helped me enjoy this more, sort of stop focusing on those things. But yeah, so they matter as much as you want them to matter. I do like exploring the metrics on the back end, like where people are from, how long they're watching. I love the A/B tests. So you'll probably never get to see two, but I do test multiple cover images. Like, these are the two from the last one. I'll probably test the actual title of this video just because I find it interesting. Not that I want to, like, I know a clickbait video title is going to get more, or a clickbait cover image is going to get more views. So like, I'm like, don't really want those. So let's, does a full image, does a full image of me holding it up with white text do better than the stylized one that I randomly found? I was like, oh, that's cute. In general, there's no difference for me because they're not that different. That's the big thing. And titles, I haven't seen too much of a difference either. So I like the metrics from that perspective. Like, what can you learn from them? How can you grow with them? The 8th thing on my list, and I have to look down because I spelled it out. Podcast-on-itis is real. So I talked about this earlier. One of the reasons I knew I only wanted to do one a month is because I knit fast, but I don't knit a lot. I don't start a lot of projects. I like to work my way most of the way through a project. Occasionally I'll get most of the way through, then cast on the next project, get distracted and be like, oh crap, I got to finish that other one. Stop the new one, finish the other one. But that being said, around the 4th or 5th month of podcasting, I definitely got the urge to start casting on more projects. And that urge came from wanting to talk to you about different things. That urge came from the yarn that I had been getting. And like, that's always an urge. Like, when you buy some yarn, you're like, oh, I want to cast on immediately. So that goes back to sticking with your plans. Like, my plan this year was one old project, one new. One old, one new. And I've kind of stuck to that. I'll talk more about that later. But like, watching as many podcasts as I watch, and then all of a sudden seeing everybody casting on X or everybody casting on Y. It's like, ooh, should I also cast that on? And every now and then one will hit where I'll be like, okay, I do really want to make that. And then I add it to my queue or my favorites. And I'm like, okay, it's in there. I'll see it. If I still want to make it in a month, we'll revisit it. And so I think it's real. Like you want to make things for content, not to make things to make. And I think that was a big moment for me when I was like, yes, I could start casting more stuff on, but that's when I lean into the I'm a content creator. So I'm casting these things on to create content about them versus I'm casting these things on because I want to bring my stash down. I want to use this beautiful yarn that I have. I want to make this for myself or for Tim or for my sister. And that was another moment where I was like, that's real. And it's unspoken pressure. Like no one's putting that pressure on anybody except themselves. And I was like, you know what? I don't want that pressure. And you'll see, I think I may have been my last video or the video before last where I said, who are the lesser known designers? Who are the people that the projects that you go back to? I've got projects that have been in my queue for 5 or 6 years and I'm going to make them. I'm going to pull them up. Like, sure, no one's going to want to watch me make the honeycomb shawl by Stephen West that had its moment 5-6 years ago. That Starflake shawl I made was from 2019. And I was like, well, I have the yarn. It's beautiful. I'm excited. I'm making it. So like, yeah, like you find your balance. And I found my balance with that. The ninth one, not number 9, but 9, next to last, penultimate, great word. The penultimate thing that I learned, be kind and be you. A lot of people in their podcasts saying that. I think Jimmy Does Knitting is my favorite. I want to say, he doesn't say it all the time, but sometimes he's like, don't be a dick. And that's true. I have had the most wonderful interactions with people. I finally met Kevin and Ray at the New England Fiber Festival. They were both shorter than I thought. I think the problem is I watch everybody on a TV, so I'm like looking up at them. And then I met them and I'm like, I'm tall, so I'm like looking down. I look down at most people. But I met Kevin and Ray from Needles at the Ready and Sarah from Little Dynamite Knits, and absolutely wonderful. Loved it. We chatted about podcasting, we chatted about make-alongs and projects we're working on and just life in general. So it was a wonderful, we had lunch together. And then I've met people have come up when I was at the Boston Fiber Festival. I was like, y'all say hi if you're there, and like 5 or 6 of you did, and it was the best, most wonderful thing. And of course I was scattered. I was like, my brain was going a million different directions then, so I'm like, I feel bad. I don't know if I was good. I hope I was kind, but like it was me. I was in the moment. I was like, hold on a minute. I gotta let people in. Let's chat. Tell me what you're wearing. What about you? And so it's been absolutely lovely. And that being said, I've also met people that are, disingenuous is not the right word, but there are people within the podcast community, within the knitting community that are just, they present the same way that they are in person. Unless you are within that group or you have X number of followers or you are male or you are female, whatever it is, you do not exist to them. I've been introduced to a couple of people by other people, and they were like, oh, hello. And then they just kind of proceeded to pretend like I didn't exist. And I was like, oh, I'm reading you right. Like I kind of got this vibe from you, but like you are really giving me this vibe. And I hope if I ever do that, call me out on it. Like I promise it's not me ignoring you or giving you the cold shoulder. And maybe that's what that was. Maybe that's what it was, like benefit of the doubt. But like, honestly, I probably got distracted. But yeah, I think when you put yourself out there like this, you kind of do, you are held to a higher standard. If you are a dick, people will know. If you are not genuine, people will know. I'm a mess. I am very organized and very put together, but I'm very messy. Like, I will not show you a picture of my desk or that side of the room, but suffice to say, I know where everything is, but it is in piles and clumps, and that's kind of how my brain works too, where I know where everything is, just not where it's supposed to be. And when I meet people, that's kind of, I'm shuffling through those things. But yeah, so just be you, be genuine. Don't put on a show. Maybe put on a little bit of a show. Like, everyone's going to exaggerate a little bit, whether it's in person or online, but like, don't feel pressured to be someone you're not because you see the biggest podcasters, the biggest vloggers, the biggest designers doing something. If that doesn't work for you, someone who does this really well, Stefanos of Be Extra Knitting, he is authentically himself. I highly recommend you go check him out. He's either in year 3 or year 4, and he knows who he is, and he is living his life and knitting what he wants. And I respect him so much for that. Like, he is being himself. You do you, boo. You do you, boo. And be authentic. So yeah, definitely go check out Stefanos. He travels. I'm pretty sure he has a doctorate. He's like some bigwig science person with patents and stuff, and does these creative experiments and hand drafts, as he's knitting, self drafts, patterns, and like, that's goals right there. Like, that is goals right there. Like, if I had that much individuality, I'd probably, I don't know, I'd take over the world. Who knows? Definitely go check him out. And he speaks like 7 different languages. He's like, I feel like every week he's learning a new language. In contrast, but also in similar, my final one is the knitting community is amazing, absolutely wonderful, absolutely lovely, both online, in person. Yes, there will always be those interactions. You hear the horror stories of going into a local yarn store and either the owner or whoever works there is just unfriendly. Like, you don't meet whatever they have in their mind as what a knitter is. Don't give them your custom. Like, yes, those people exist. They exist everywhere. They exist in the podcast community. They exist at my work. They exist at your work. And you learn as you get older, as you mature, as you get further into something like this, you learn who the people are that you want to hang out with, that you want to talk to. And same thing in the knitting community. You find, I have groups that I'm involved in. I love my virtual knit night. I love my Friday nights at the local store up here. There was the men's night that I was going to. It's pretty much just me and Cashman. There was, I think, 1 or 2 other times where a bunch of other people came, and then I couldn't go because I had a scheduling conflict. But that was canceled. So like, Cashman and I are talking about we're gonna have to get together. So like, you find your knitting friends, you find your knitting community, and you don't find it on the first try. You don't. It's like, they say about a therapist: if your therapist doesn't work, find a new one. If your hairdresser, salon, barber, stylist, they give you a bad haircut, you might give them a second chance, but you move on. So same thing with the knitting groups and knitting community. Keep searching and you'll find it. I found, I have my virtual knit group. I am, more often than not, I'm the only man. Stefanos comes sometimes, and I'm not always the youngest person, but I'm usually one of the youngest people by about a decade, which isn't bad, isn't anything. My Friday night knit night group, one additional masculine presenting person has been coming. Couple of non-binary people have come in and out of that group. So like, it's been interesting to sort of navigate that. I appreciated the men's knit night, so I'm hoping Cashman and I can figure something out about that, like finding some additional local male knitters or crafters and try and get that started maybe somewhere else on a different night. You just have to explore and search, and you'll eventually find where you are. And if you don't find it, make it. One of the reasons I started this is because I wanted to talk to people, and I had watched other people talk to people about it, and I enjoyed interacting with them. So I was like, oh, maybe I can meet more people. And I met so many new people. It's been absolutely wonderful. Yeah, those are my 10. I'll put them back up here again. We'll go through them. So quick recap from me. Research matters. Community doesn't build itself. Jumping in is the best thing you can do. Setting a schedule and sticking to it is important. It's not easy, but it's a lot of fun. Flexibility is key. Monetization and metrics don't matter. I feel like that's the most controversial. Podcast-on-itis is real. Be kind and be you, and the knitting community is amazing. Whether it's the community you find or the community you make, it's what you make of it. So those are. I feel like I've waxed poetic over this last. It looks like about 47 minutes. I stuck to it. I kept it under 5 minutes because if you count the intro and this last little bit, I'm still under 50. But it's been really good looking back on a year. I haven't talked about anything that I've made. I wanted this one to be mostly about the podcast experience and sort of how that's impacted my knitting. I will talk about what I've made this year in one of those December videos, which I'm excited about. Most of it's right here in a pile, but a couple of things I've already given away. So I'll have some of them. I might have that great thumbnail of me standing here with a pile of knits, or just be like, that's what I made. So we'll see. We'll see. I think that's definitely coming up. And yeah, I felt like now is a good time to think back. And this list I've been working on off and on for the last couple of weeks. And I feel like it's representative of what I've learned about podcasting and about myself as a knitter and a podcaster over the past year. If you're a podcaster, let me know. Do you agree? Do you disagree? If you're not, did anything surprise you? As someone who consumes podcasts regularly, some of them surprised me. Those of you that jump in and fly by the seat of your pants, whew, you are brave. Like, I gotta know, I gotta control as much as I can, and then what I can, I have to learn to let go. And I have learned that this year. I've been learning that in life, I think, really, of like where putting your energy into what matters, you get to decide what matters. And so I think that's where I've been, and that's where I'm going. So if you stuck it out this long, thank you again. If you're one of the OG 87 and you stuck it out this long, extra thank you, because wow, it's been a year. I will be back the first Saturday in December with my monthly episode, and then 3 additional episodes after that. I think I have to double check the calendar for Vlogmas, and I'm excited. So I'm excited to go into year 2. Like, this next episode is year 2. It starts. So I hope you enjoyed this episode and me looking back on it. Casting off for now. I will see you in a few weeks.